Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome. Happy Friday to everyone. Thank you so much for attending, as we have, a couple hundred people signed up for this specific webinar and interview with one of, the foremost experts in breath training. We're going to get into a lot of the ins and outs of breath training, but really I think you're going to be able to expand your mind, wrap your mind around all of the different implications of this one topic that you may not even be thinking about, right? And so I don't want to steal the thunder, but I do want to talk about a couple of things just before we jump in to teeing it over to our guest for today, Ed Harrold. One is you can start to type in your questions in the chat box. Okay, in the chat box. Two is we are going to record this and memorialize this later on ptaglobal.com/events. ptaglobal.com/events is where you can find this memorialized. Give us about a week or so to be able to get that back out there to you. And so if you have any friends, family, team members that aren't able to be on the call today, they'll be able to review it in the next week or so on ptaglobal.com/events. There's no CECs specific to this webinar and interview, but we are going to have some next steps following this call. There will be an email that we sent out about an hour after the call ends that will have some next steps and how to find additional content, how to reach out to Ed to really expand upon the knowledge that you're going to receive today, as well as a couple of offers from PTA Global and how you can expand your education on topics like parasympathetic nervous system and different ways that you can implement these tactics into your programming to drive the best of the best in results. The last item here is again, we're going to go about 30 minutes of content, and then we're going to leave the last kind of 15 minutes for Q&A with Ed. And so already start kind of thinking about your questions. Anytime I have a guy like Ed that you can just pick his brain, that's just a wealth of knowledge, I definitely want to take advantage of that. So with that, again, I'm so excited to be kicking off another interview series here. If I haven't met you before, Israel Allen, Director of Education for PTA Global. We have been doing this webinar and interview series for the past 6 months now. We've memorialized a lot of these, and it's really been a breath of fresh air, so to speak, through the past 6 months. That's been a very trying time in our industry. Many of you on the call, whether you're personal trainers, you're coaches, your owners and operators, we have all seen our industry really take a hit, and we found some downtime to be able to sharpen our saw, be able to reinvest in ourselves. And so I want to thank you for taking out the time to continue to do that today. And we promise to never leave you disappointed. So with that, I want to kick it over to the man, Ed Harrold. Ed, can you share a little bit of your background and just who you are to anyone on the call that maybe doesn't know you?
Hey, hi everyone. Great to be with you. My name's Eddie Harrold. I grew up on the East Coast, Atlantic City, New Jersey. I was a competitive athlete in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm a professional athlete in the early 90s. And in the mid 90s, my body had just begun to super deteriorate and very limited flexibility, range of motion. And I got involved in yoga, specifically yogic breathing. And for the past 25 years, I've been applying yogic breathing and mindfulness strategies into traditional Western training, which is, as you know, foundationally frequency, intensity, duration. And I found that these two platforms really fit really, really well together when you can harness some breath control into what you're trying to achieve with your clients. You can get more out of the workout with less wear and tear to the neuromuscular skeletal system of the joints. And it's also super powerful in regard to recovery, coming out of the workout, integrating our gains, and also getting a fantastic night's sleep. So I'm excited to be with you guys here today.
Awesome, Ed. And I heard just 3 things for me personally there that really resonated. One, breath training impacts sleep, the quality and the quantity of that. I know that's, super important for me. That's really where our body, a big part of where our body repairs. I heard mobility in there, moving better. I think we're sitting more than ever in today's age. I know if you're anything like me, you're doing a ton of Zoom calls and things like that we just, 6 months ago, we probably weren't doing as much. And so I know moving better, feeling better, and living better. And it's amazing that we can accomplish a lot of those things just within, breathing techniques. So can you maybe expand upon those, Ed, and A, why is this important for coaches to know? And B, how can they teach this to their clients?
Well, thank you for the question. When we think about mobility, stability, things like this, it all basically initiates from the movement of our thoracic diaphragm. To maximize the movement of this particular diaphragm, breathing must take place through the mouth. When the air comes in through the mouth unfiltered, it just comes into the top sleeve of the lungs. The diaphragm doesn't vertically press down and support our lower body patterns of movements. And then that sets in motion a whole host of unstable activities for the brain and the body. When you're breathing through your nose, the diaphragm is going to create the suction and pressure to vertically press down and stabilize our lower body mechanics. As the air is drawn into the belly first, the lower lobes of our lungs, we know that the physiology of the lower lobes of the lungs is all parasympathetic activity, oxygen rich, hemoglobin rich, serotonin rich, all this stuff that allows us to relax into the tension of what we're trying to achieve in between the end of the inhale and the initiation of the exhale. So as we begin to learn how to control our inhale, we have greater posture. The brain loves to see that spine erect and patterns of movement that are super, super efficient. So when we think about being in a 24-hour cycle, we think about creating tension, or the times that we move through our workouts predominantly are sympathetic. There's going to be higher heart rates. The recovery period is a parasympathetic activity. So we want to focus on different types of breathing rates and patterns, but above all, try to breathe through your nose as much as you possibly can, because that's the most efficient way to respire your cells, control the sympathetic activity. So your breath rate is going to manage your heart rate is going to manage your blood pressure is going to reflect what part of your brain is giving information to your mind, and then the mind is either going to allow the body to metabolize fat as its primary fuel or glucose or sugar. And we want to burn fat during these stressful times of 2020.
Yeah, that's huge, man. So again, so many pieces there. Again, if our listeners on the call are anything like me, like I'm literally breathing in through my nose, and I'm very kinesthetic in my learning style. So I'm working on my diaphragmatic breathing as you're talking. I'm feeling those muscles expand and contract. I'm feeling the pressure that puts down into like my lumbopelvic. I can feel it even in my low back, and just I'm very hands-on in this process. And so as you were walking through that, I was feeling kind of what you were articulating as well. So can you talk a little bit about, trainers right now? I think they're trying to find strategies for clients, maybe to improve flexibility or to improve core strength. And maybe they're doing traditional things like planks and, crunches, or, just things that focus more on the global musculature, the outer musculature. Can you talk a little bit about how training my client to breathe the right way first can impact everything else that I'm trying to do with them, both in performance as well as, immunity, all of those?
Great question. It's a really rich topic. When I work with clients, I want to be as efficient as possible. No extra steps, no extra reps, no extra weights, no extra bands. I want everything to be super efficient. When you think about how we take care of ourselves, we have a cardiovascular system, we have a strength training system, we have a flexibility system, and we have a mind training or mindfulness or flow system. The idea for me is to create all four forms of self-care, training, and performance all in the same second. So when you're working with breath control, you have this inhale, okay? And the inhale on its own is sympathetic, okay? There's going to be a minor spike to your heart rate. There'll be an arousal set of neurochemicals that are moved through your brain, and you kind of get excited in the present moment. Now the exhale, predominantly is a parasympathetic, a relaxation response. You're giving energy back. You're releasing and relaxing yourself. And you'll notice you can always exhale longer than your inhale. And that's going to trigger that fat burning mode, that recovery mode, and that relaxation response that we want in that mind-body connection. Focus on length, depth, and pace. How long can you inhale before you can't inhale anymore? How long can you exhale until you can't inhale anymore? How much inhale? What is the depth if you can bring these external molecules of life into the cells of your body? How much can you detoxify and bring stale air and carbon dioxide out of your body during the process of exhale? But above all, the most important thing that we're looking at with breath control is the pace of the breath. You know, a lot of our clients, you know, are a little stressed out. They're a little uncertain. They're out of their body a little bit. And there's all these thoughts and nervous talking. You know, when you slow the pace of your breathing down, and it's nostril breathing, so the lower brain, the amygdala, that fight or flight or freeze mode turns off. The higher brain will turn on, the hippocampus. And the workouts can become so transformational. They can become neuroplastic. There can be neuro advancements in the brain if we can just turn off that animal brain. And the animal brain will turn on when you're hyperventilating through your mouth. It's a very inefficient way, and it begins to create acidity, mucus, phlegm, and fat. And just because you can breathe through your mouth doesn't actually mean that you're actually helping yourself. So you're creating all sorts of extra tension on the systems. When you're breathing through your nose, you're creating safety to the brain. And when that higher brain turns on, you know the answer to every single question. There's a certain sense of being grounded in that mind and body. And you're really maximizing that self-care routine internally, not wearing out the parts that normally are under duress from traditional Western training.
Yeah, man. So, you know, I think as I'm listening, there's a couple things that come to mind. When I was a personal trainer, again, you know, I learned that, you know, diaphragmatic breathing was important. I didn't know, you know, half the areas that you just described. I just knew that it was good for you, and then it helped to stabilize the core, and then it helped to lower stress levels. Those were kind of like some simple things. And what I found is not a single one of my clients that came into me, breathe, you know, their breath was not diaphragmatic breathing. They were like shallow breathers. And so one of the tests that I would use, and I'm sure you probably have a few of your own, is kind of, you know, right hand on the chest, left hand on the belly, Mrs. Jones, as she comes in, take a deep breath for me. And just see which hand moves, see if the shoulders elevate. And that was always my way to gauge, okay, I need to start there, and then every bit of core, just kind of integrate that back into Mrs. Jones. And then how can I coach her outside of the session so that it wasn't Groundhog Day every single time my client came in and I checked, hey, take a deep breath for me. Okay, no, you're still not breathing diaphragmatically. So I was always trying to find ways to like get my clients to do things outside of the gym and be compliant with it, to change that behavior for them so it actually stuck. As a guy that like this is a huge part of what you do and what you teach and what you write about in your books, you know, are there like 1 to 2 maybe go-tos that you teach people to say, hey man, if you had 5 minutes a day or 2 minutes a day, here is how you would retrain someone to breathe diaphragmatically? What would those things be?
Thanks. Beautiful question. So, you know, most folks are not breathing through their nose regularly, their mouth breathing. And any part of the body that the brain sees you're not using, it'll shut down as, you know, the brain's looking to create efficiency. So when you start to breathe through your nose, there's a slight pull on the nasal channels. It's difficult to get air into the nostrils and get it out through the nostrils. There's all this mental duress going on. I can't do it, or insecurity. So how do we take all that off the table? Well, there's another great breath from the yoga tradition called the ocean sounding breath. And there's a piece of cartilage on top of the trachea called the epiglottis. And if you can learn how to contract that when you're breathing, your first awareness that you're breathing in and out diaphragmatically through your nose will be when the wind of your breath crosses the top of your trachea. The nostrils will remain flared open. The sinuses will remain open. And you've created a double filtration system to keep airborne pollutants, particles, bacteria, foreign invaders outside of your body and now allowing them to get in. So for me, optimal diaphragmatic breathing is not just breathing through your nose. It's adding another layer of filtration at the top of the throat, and there'll be a soft sound that forms there like you're holding a seashell up. And this will flare and dilate the nostrils. The brain will secrete nitric oxide, which is a natural anti-inflammatory molecule. So you can take in more air and squeeze out more carbon dioxide by dilating the alveoli sacs of your lungs. A great technique to do with this is try to improve folks' inhale. So say they're going to do, you want folks to grow their inhale. You'll just exhale, and you'll just, rather than do inhale, exhale with reps, you might just do inhale and then exhale for 3 reps, slow motion exhale with an ocean sound, hold the breath out for a rep, and then the natural recoil of that inhale and exhale, the inhale will grow longer in time. So if you want to grow the length of an inhale, exhale slowly and organically hold the breath out for a moment. That recoil will naturally create more suction and pressure to grow your inhale in length. If you want to improve your exhale, do the reverse. Inhale slowly, hold the breath in. That pressure has to go somewhere. You'll retrain the brain with that extra pressure that you'll have a longer exhale in length. And you want to exhale longer than your inhale as much as you possibly can. So you're burning fat instead of sugar, and you're allowing the brain to rotate through the information and make choices on the fly that might be a little slightly different than our awareness we had yesterday.
I like that, man. And I like the strategy, like just the trainer in me starts to think, man, I was always taught like the whole Valsalva thing, right? Like one of my first certifications was ACSM, and we learned about the implications of Valsalva, and then you hear a different paradigm shift where it's like, well, no, in working with Olympic athletes that were like, no, Valsalva is good because you want to create that abdominal pressure, right? That pressure, especially under heavy loads. And so it's kind of like this, well, we've always been taught as trainers to, inhale, right? Inhale on kind of the eccentric phase, right? The easier phase. Right. Inhale easy, inhale eccentric is kind of how I learned it, and exhale on the concentric. I never thought about using my exercise time as a way to retrain breath. I only did that like at the beginning of session, like maybe during core, and then maybe if I was lucky, I'd do it like in between sets or exercise, circuits. But a lot of times it was just kind of like a stick and move. I never thought about, okay, I'm going to practice the inhale, right? Like a 10-second inhale as I'm doing 4 or 5 reps, both eccentrically and concentrically, just because it contradicted everything that I had been taught about Valsalva and how you inhale at this part of the rep and exhale at this part of the rep. I love that because it's super practical, and it's easy. It's easy. I love it, man.
This is great. So, we want folks to breathe through the nose. Okay. When you add that layer, that ocean sounding breath in your throat, you're going to naturally and organically add more length, depth, and pace to the process of inhale and exhale, which is supporting what you want to do. So if you're on a lat pull down machine and you just inhale and you hold the breath in and you do 4 reps, exhale, hold the breath out, do 2 reps. Inhale, hold, do 6 reps, do them slow. And then exhale, hold the breath out, do 3 reps. So right there, you're taking something that is basically an anaerobic activity and you're adding aerobic activity. In other words, you're getting cardio, you're getting the effects of cardio in, which is traditionally something where you wouldn't get cardio. There's thousands of different ways to do it.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Even just, and a lot of trainers on the call here are probably thinking, well, yeah, I kind of know that belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing is the right thing to do. But I just tell you, in 20 years of training, I never thought to kind of like sneak in sneak in breath training into the rep scheme, just because, again, it it conflicted with what I was taught early on. And I love the fact that you're retraining things voluntarily, but they're predicated on the autonomic nervous system. They're predicated on how our body should do things without thinking about it, automatically. I think that's really cool, man. So is there, maybe a brief demonstration or something that we could do together as a team that you would say, hey, man, if I was going to show you this one thing and how to quickly, get the most bang for your buck out of breath training that we could kind of do together, what would that thing be, man?
Well, I just need folks to be aware that if you need energy quickly, breathe fast through your nose. Don't go, because that just creates all sort of havoc inside the body and the brain. Just breathe fast through your nose until you can reestablish a slower nasal diaphragmatic breathing. You get your heart rate back down, your heart rate variability score goes way up, you burn fat instead of sugar, and you get this killer sweat. But you're not doing as much neuromuscular friction because the heat that you're creating is coming from your gastrointestinal organs. It's coming from the cardiovascular system. You're not creating as much heat from the lactic acid burn of the muscles and bones and soft tissue gliding in between the joints. So it's always the idea here is to use a breathing technique that meets your specific need in the present moment to get the most out of the least. It's always about quality, and then the quantity will take care of itself. So as I was speaking earlier, nasal diaphragmatic breathing, ocean sound in your breath. So you're humidifying and steaming this dry air before it comes in to the lungs. So it's already prepared to go out and do its thing for you with a lower heart rate. The technique would be to sit up tall for a moment, plant your feet down, squeeze your thighs like you're going to stand up, and right there your spine comes instantly erect. Just let the head move left or right, forward and back, and really try to balance the 12 pounds of the skull on top of the spine. When we're working out, it's really important not to strain the eyes, not to tense the low jaw. This fires off the cranial nerves, and there's more tension in the moment than we need. So keeping the nerve endings of the face soft. And then with that diaphragmatic breath and ocean sound, you inhale into the belly, you let the breath evolve to the collarbone, and you hold the breath in for a 2 count. And then you exhale slowly through your nose, ocean sound in your throat, and you hold the breath out for a 2 count. Repeat. Slow motion inhale from the navel to the collarbone. Hold in. Slow motion exhale through the nostrils. Hold the breath out for a 2 count. And be still. Repeat. Slow motion inhale. Hold for 2. Slow motion exhale. Hold out for 2. If you wanted to train inspiratory muscles more than expiratory muscles, inhale. Hold the breath in for 4. Exhale. Hold out for 2. If you wanted to train expiratory muscles, inhale. Hold in for 2. Exhale. Hold out for 4. Now just let your body breathe on its own now. You'll sense the autonomic shift. The cardiovascular system will drop. You might have felt a little heat in the viscera of your body. It's really important to detoxify these organs of mucus, phlegm, fat, acidity, anything that's impeding oxygen distribution. Our clients aren't dying of muscle cancer. They're dying of organ cancer. And this is where the diaphragm and the breath control, along with the vagus nerve, are really going to take us to the next level in our professional trainings and clients.
I love it, man. It's funny as I'm going through that, as many of the people on the call are probably going through that. If you're a kinesthetic learner like I am, I have to go through it. I have to experience it. And I've done box breathing and deep breathing before and things like that. But there's something about, like you had mentioned, the euphoria. There's something about that euphoria, man. Like I'm even a little like loopy. It's like I'm a teenager again, getting in trouble. Well, it's a natural high.
This is the byproduct of norepinephrine, which allows you to be aroused and focused, and serotonin, which produces calm, relaxation, fat metabolism. So when we're in our normal state of consciousness, you're either excitatory neurochemistry or you're inhibitory neurochemistry. When you do breath control, you got this massive amount of energy that meets this massive wave of relaxation, and they just come together. And then you're right in that place where it feels great to be us.
Man, I love it, man. I love it. Even just thinking about, one of the courses that we teach is our exercise and stress management. We talk about the balance between parasympathetic and sympathetic, the impact of cortisol on the body. And for many of those on the call right now, you may recognize that name of cortisol, like the stress hormone. But I think about in today's age, man, we have so many clients that their movement, their blood pressure, their thought life, everything is being dramatically impacted by hyperdoses of cortisol, chronic stress. Cortisol is catabolic in the body. It's designed to break down every cell in the body, slow the metabolism, all of these things. Although we need it for regulating blood pressure and all kinds of things in the body, I can't imagine all the chronic, illness, disease, but even just, chronic stress that's happening right now, that if we would just teach people how to breathe the right way, take a minute and just breathe the right way, how that could just change the game for so many of our clients and their movement life and their metabolism results. Do you have, maybe one or two specific people, you don't have to name names, but people that you've worked with over a series of time that have used these strategies and maybe a pre-post outcome, something that they were facing with before they came to you, and then maybe kind of a success story after by using this type of training?
Well, since everyone's breathing, I cross every single platform that every trainer is going to be working with, from professional golfers to world-class triathletes. It's all basically the same stuff inside, regardless of what heart rates are. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to control our physiology so that we can control our psychology, and we can stay in the present moment, being fully conscious with self-awareness of what the choices are in the present moment, and then making that best choices possible as we move through the challenges of our workout and what takes place after that workout. So no matter what level of resistance or stress that you're working, regardless of whether it's anaerobic or aerobic, we're still trying to create the same type of physiology in the body. We're still trying to be as most efficient as possible with our motor patterns. And all motor pattern movement comes off the strength of the thoracic diaphragm. This is a super deep muscle that connects with the tendons of the psoas muscles, which play such a huge role in our lower body mechanics. So whether you're a triathlete or golfer, no matter what's happening up here is watching down here. And when you lose your legs, if you're a fighter, dude, you're going down. So when you have that diaphragm moving down on that inhale, you're connecting with the pelvic floor diaphragm. Your lower body mechanics are tight, yet you have a lot of range of motion, so you're super stable. Your respiration creates that. And then you've got this exhale. And the exhale really is where the magic takes place, because that's the part where we unwind the tension from whatever we're creating in the workout. It's easy to create tension. It's hard to teach skills that unwind that tension. And our clients today don't need to be wound up any tighter. They need to find ways to unwind the tension that they're totally carrying now in their mind, in their spine, in their organs. So regardless of what type of client you're working with or what level, whether it's professional or whether it's somebody who just wants to lose 5 pounds, you want to exhale longer than your inhale. You want to stabilize your spine, and you want to open your mind.
I love it. I love it. Even for me personally, like I think about the nose breathing, I'm definitely a mouth breather. At nighttime when I sleep, throughout the day, it's just, I don't know, it's path of least resistance, it seems like. But even just going through some focused breathing of, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. I don't know about the fast breathing through the nose. I feel like I might mess up and get messy if I do that. But you said who cares?
It's all good.
It's all good. We're all family.
Get the mucus out.
I don't know how much my clients would like that. Get the mucus on them. I don't know, but I love it, man. I love the strategies.
We don't really talk about this nostril dominance. I mean, I can't breathe. I can't get my heart rate up high enough to breathe through my mouth. And then I've just trained myself. I gave myself the discipline that I was not going to violate what my body wasn't ready to give me by mouth breathing. So over a period of time, I've trained my system to respond. You know, the fastest animal on earth, the cheetah. How does the cheetah get its prey? It breathes through its nose. Every horse that's won the Kentucky Derby, that horse is breathing through its nose. Only humans have the ability to override the genetic makeup of how we were breathing at our birth, because the mouth breathing basically becomes easier. But in the long run, it's debilitating health, wellness, and happiness.
I love that. We can capture that sound bite. You know, hey, you know why a cheetah's so fast? Nose breathing. Just saying. I'm just going to put a pin in that and leave that there. I love it, man.
It's
so
true.
I want to give an opportunity for us to open up for some Q&A. And so if you're on the call, use, again, that chat box to start typing in your questions for Ed. We will answer those kind of first come, first serve. And so as those questions are being typed in the chat box right now, Ed, what would be maybe some, final thoughts or next steps for the group, just kind of, segueing from this course? What would you want them to go do, go practice, go teach?
I would want them to be aware of the fact that there's a huge science, and there's a huge reservoir of thousands of different ways to breathe in and out. The science is amazing. And when I started this 25 years ago, the first time I went to the gym and I began to add this yogic breathing into my Western workout, something turned on in me as a kinesthetic visual learner. And I said, this is something I'm going to do every day for the rest of my life. So, you have this 100% inhale and you have a 100% exhale, and that's one breath. Maybe you want to inhale 50% and hold the breath in, and then inhale the remaining 50% and hold the breath in, and then exhale 50% and hold the breath out, and exhale 50% and hold the breath out. And you can add reps or distance or any type of interval to that to amplify what you're doing. You don't have to do things fast. We're at a time in 2020 where we want to do things slower. And then maybe you'll inhale 1/3 and hold the breath in, 2/3 hold the breath in, 9/10 hold the breath in. And then exhale 1/3, hold out, exhale 2/3, exhale 9/10, hold out. And you begin to break down the process of inhale and exhale. And you'll strengthen these muscles, these intercostals on the inhale, the obliques, the transverse abdominals, all these muscles of exhale. And there's major lymphatic ducts all through these rib lines, which plays a huge role in supporting our digestive function. So when you're turning that breath on and off, on and off, on and off, you're getting this wonderful lymphatic drain through these lymphatic ducts, through the ribs, which is going to help improve three things: digestion, elimination, and assimilation. And when that's strong, the blood is clean, the heart rate is down, and the mind is focused on the goal at hand.
I love it, man. I love it. And so you mentioned lymphatics, and so I can only imagine how important this is, just for removal of waste, removal of toxins that can impede performance, that can create toxicity and inflammation to the body in general. And so obviously a ton of things to look at. So I want to answer a couple of questions here. We've got one here from Raul that came in. First of all, he says he just finished your lecture in the MedFit conference, and loved your segment. He also asked,
Thank you.
Is breath training helpful for anyone that may have high blood pressure?
Yeah. So the mouth breathing is going to bring your heart rate up. It's going to spike the HPA axis of the brain. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to use the breath control to bring the blood pressure down. Where's the blood pressure go down? It goes down on the exhale. Most of our clients aren't exhaling. So when you think about it, if you were just going to work with the ocean sounding breath and just simple diaphragmatic breathing, maybe it's inhale, exhale, and then inhale, exhale, exhale, exhale. And you're teaching the brain that it's okay to exhale while you're doing your reps. And then you put the weight down. So that you can take one breath and you can do more reps in that routine by controlling the breath and the movement. It doesn't always have to be linking breath with movement. Maybe you just want to do some reps with a longer exhale. So bringing the blood pressure down, the reason why it's up is mouth breathing, hypertension, hyperventilation, closing the mouth. And what's going to happen here on that longer exhale? Well, that exhale, we have carbon dioxide. Carbon's great. It's the building block of all of this. It's what burns away the waste. But there's also 2 oxygen molecules in that exhale. When the brain can see that inside the waste product of carbon is also 2 positive things, it'll extract it in your bloodstream, it'll add it to the O2 you're taking in on the next inhale, and that'll satiate the bloodstream and bring the vascular system and the blood pressure back into balance.
I love it, man. So, I mean, in recap, if I'm a trainer and I've got a client that has hypertension, which I would be shocked because heart disease is the #1 killer in the world. I'd be shocked if I trained anybody that, if I had more than one client that didn't have some sort of form of hypertension. It's just rampant in today's age. That might be a great place to start is, hey, let me see how you breathe. Okay, great.
Right.
Well, I want to work on breathing with you diaphragmatically, specifically through the nose. And here's why this is important. Yes, it'll lower your blood pressure, right? But it'll also strengthen your core, strengthen your low back. And so let's just start here as a tactic, because if the client is like, well, how specifically does this do this? Well, it's releasing really positive hormones that kind of lower the stress hormones, thus helping to reduce the overall stress in your heart. So that would be, in my mind, like a simple way to communicate to clients that might be hypertensive, how to implement this and then why it's important, which is the next question. Kelly had a question around what's the best tip for client buy-in, specifically client buy-in for focus on breath work.
The first thing I would say is try to teach them to valve the air through their throat with the ocean sounding breath. And that's the number one, whether you're mouth breathing or nostril breathing, you want to create this filtration system at the top of the throat and have that tone, that sound there, which introverts our 5 sense perception. Now, as folks make the transition from mouth breathing to nasal breathing, they won't be able to breathe through their nose during the stressful times. So when they put the weight down or they do an interval or get off the treadmill, the first thing you're going to invite them to do is bring their heart rate down by breathing through their nose and reestablish homeostasis in the mind and the body. And then gradually begin to grow the time where they can be in an intense routine and then breathe through their nose. And if you can't breathe through your nose slowly, breathe through your nose quickly. And then maybe you want to breathe through the nose quickly on the inhale, but longer on the exhale. Or maybe you want to have a long inhale and a short exhale, getting those carbon dioxide levels down quickly. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Start with the ocean sound, and then when they come out of a stressful routine, don't hyperventilate. Force the air to stay in the body, and the body will sort out the difference between the oxygen and carbon dioxide and give you twice as much more energy.
Very cool. Very cool, man. So to kind of recap that, if I'm a trainer and I'm like, hey, we need to get your breathing right, for a client to be like, okay, I understand the importance of it, that buy-in to where they really say, okay, this has to be really, really important. What is something that you've used personally where people were maybe, resistant to it or maybe a little skeptical about it, to where you got the best buy-in from your clients or your athletes that you were training?
Great. So in my mind, I have a client and I'm going to introduce this nostril breathing and breath control thing to them next week. So what I said to him this week is, I want you to notice how you feel after our workout. I want you to notice how you feel. Are you grounded? What are you craving? What is it like when you're leaving me? And then the next week, I'm going to add the breath control. And then I'll say to them, how do you feel now when you left me? And you have that arousal but you're calm. When you want to introduce this to folks, the first couple minutes, maybe you have them lie down on their back, you do the hand placement, and you have them do that before you get them into their warm-up. So that might be the warm-up for today, like the first 2 minutes. And then the last 2 minutes, lie them down again and just reinforce that psychologically, that breathing pattern. So it's kind of like two bookends. You have the introduction and then you have the conclusion. Then in the middle, you do what you choose to do. But at the end and the beginning, introduce the breathing techniques to your clients.
Got it. And then in addition to that, what I heard is being able to educate them and explain the why to it. You know, here's how it's going to help you specifically with what they want to accomplish, right? So if they want to lose weight, well, you know, here's how this is going to help you, but here's how it can also potentially help us with losing weight, right? Whether we talk about fat oxidation, whether we talk about how it's going to, you know, but just going back to what's important to them and then kind of connecting breath training with that thing.
Right.
So, okay. Cool. I love it.
Well, you know, the body's not designed to overeat.
Yeah.
So when we raise our heart rate up really, really high, the subconscious brain turns on, and we're not learning anything new. When you want to create neuroplasticity or new thoughts or new awarenesses around what's taking place in our emotional habitual centers, try to keep the heart rate down below 75% on a torque level. And there's really good opportunities to learn there, cerebrally and emotionally, keeping that heart rate around 70-75%.
Would you be so bold to say breath training curbs appetite?
Without a doubt.
Oh,
so when you,
winner.
So, you know, if a lot of times with folks that come with weight issues, you know, the stomach, you can just inhale, hold the breath in and swallow that air down into your stomach and wait for that craving to go away. And if you don't act on that craving for the 5 or 10 minutes, if you don't buy into what it's selling you, it's going to go away because you're not buying. So there's all sorts of different ways that you can use breath to expand the stomach so that it thinks it's full. And then in the meantime, the brain's going to rewire itself and say, you know what, we didn't really need that.
I love it. Yeah, I don't know if you're like, or your clients, you know, are anything like me, but I've been on the all seafood diet recently where I just eat all the food I see. And so
That's awesome.
My discipline to myself is whenever I get really hungry or I get hangry is I'm just going to take 5 minutes, do some serious nasal breathing, and see what happens. I want to test myself. I love it, man.
You know, when you're holding in or holding out too, you know, you can contract your abdominal muscles and really squeeze them back onto your gastrointestinal organs. And that'll shift the hormonal secretions there. And you know, how we feel is going to be a reflection of what we think we need. So holding the breath in and out or breathing fast, and then while you're holding, squeezing your core, or maybe vertically pressing the thoracic diaphragm down when you're holding in, like you're trying to evacuate your bowels, getting that fresh blood and minerals and nutrients to move through these organs, that craving will pass.
Wow. That's huge right there. Even if you just took away one thing, I took away, 5 or 6 from today's call, but if you just took one thing that you could go and start, implementing into behavior change and like tactics to kind of help clients, and that's gold right there, man. So, hey, this next question, I'm actually personally interested in it because I'm a diver. And so breathing, obviously, I think that's important in diving. I can fact check on that, but so Denise says, what would be the implications for scuba divers, especially professional divers, on breathing through the mouth while diving? And is there a possible way to quit relaxing through, but will have a health effects in the long run? So basically, if you're getting a lot of dive time, and obviously you're breathing through your regulator, your mouth breathing there, is there any research or anything you found as far as long-term implications on that type of breathing versus having the ability to nose breathe underwater? Which would be
what I would say is, whether you're breathing through your mouth or whether you're breathing through your nose, valve the air through your throat.
Okay.
Number 2, if you are breathing through your mouth, okay, and it's sympathetic, you can bring parasympathetic activity by trying to breathe as slowly as you can while you breathe through the mouth. And that'll bring some parasympathetic action into the mouth breathing, which is sympathetic. And that there's just ways that we can slow things down. We can, because you're not going to breathe through your mouth the whole day. You're going down for the dive, you're going to mouth breathe. Just breathe slowly and conserve your air.
I love it. And Denise, if you're a diver, which I'm assuming you might be if you ask this specific question, that'll make you less of an air hog too. So you'll actually increase your dive time because you won't be inefficient at using your oxygen. So hopefully that'll help Denise have a lot of good dive time ahead of her. So I think we're approaching kind of towards the end of our call, Ed. And so what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is I just want you to be able to close us out today with kind of some words of wisdom, next steps, yeah, man, I just want to turn it back over to you, man, to close us out for today.
Well, what I would say to everyone is that breath control is the secret. It's the treasure trove. It is something that I would invite you to really spend some time in. Notice anytime you change your breathing pattern, notice the higher part of your brain turns on. And once they're like, what's going on? What's like, you're in a learning mode. So whether you know thousands of techniques or whether you just know a few techniques, as soon as you change your breathing, the higher part of your brain turns on and it's in a learning mode, just like it was when we were young children. Pay attention to the length, depth, pace of your breathing and know that that's going to reflect the length, depth, and pace of your mind, the length, depth, and pace of your neural activity. We don't want short, bumpy, scattered thinking. We want things to come in a way that we can work with the film that we're watching in our mind. We can interact with that film, change on the fly, adapt to the environment seamlessly, and always be in a position where we're growing from the inside out, where we're being super aware. We're looking at the moment through fresh eyes, fresh ears. And we're just like that little kid again, playing with stuff and just being curious and like always putting ourselves in a mode where my mantra is, I want to learn one new thing every day. And if I can learn one new thing every day, it gives me permission to release one old thing that I'm not anymore that I was 25 years ago. And I'm not carrying that baggage around psychologically so that I'm in a space of positivity or neutrality. So control your breath, control your heart rate, it controls your mind, and you'll naturally detoxify yourself with the organic wisdom of your body.
I love it, man. I love it. And team, if you're joining this call, again, you've probably been up against the fact that there's a lot of things that are outside of our control. It is great connecting with a brilliant mind like Ed that can help us to kind of control some things that we can control and have a simple and profound impact on our body, our physiology, and can have a huge impact in the lives that we get a chance to serve every day through our clients. So thank you so much for your time and your wisdom today, Ed. Team, you'll be receiving a email about an hour after this on some ways that you can find Ed and additional education and expanded material on this topic. And so thank you again, Ed. I so appreciate your time, man. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you all, everyone, and God bless and go be great.
Love it.